This may just be a podcast episode, um, with no video. Uh, I have been struggling, and struggling may be like a real strong word, but for me, I've had this deep desire for the past, hmm, I would say several years of like the idea of balance in my life. And what I mean by balance, I mean literally where every day I am intentionally giving time to every area of my life in a way that is, I guess the word would be productive, that moves me closer to like the whole version of myself that I want to be. And so when I say every area of my life, I mean physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially, like um I'm doing everything that I'm supposed to be doing in those days, in a day. However, I come up short. Like one day I'm on top of my planning out of my day. The next day I'm on top of like um working out or uh working towards my professional goals, my career goals. The next day I'm super into clean eating, but I'm not moving my body. It's like whenever I'm strong in one area, like when I'm on top of it, and it's sprints, right? I do it like if I'm drinking my water, all of my water, I'm drinking half my water. I am not moving my body. If I'm eating super clean, I'm not moving my body. If I am prioritizing rest, then my career goals fall to the wayside. If I am going out to do my moving my body that day, then I feel like I didn't give all of my time, the time that I was supposed to God in the morning, right? And Um, so this morning, like I just had an honest conversation with God. Like, Lord, I need you to help me. And so what I came to is that I'm not the only one who like has this deeper desire for balance. And that's why I wanted to bring the conversation to you. So like if you're nodding your head or like your chest gets tight hearing this, then this episode is for you because like in this desire, I have guilt. Like when one thing gets done and then the other thing doesn't, like it's guilt associated with that. And so this morning, and my devotion with God and my time, my morning self-reflection, right? I wrote down something that really just stuck with me around the fact that balance isn't about doing everything every day. It's about doing the right things with peace and in the right season. And that made me reflect on something that I used to say a lot was like my primary goal in life was to move and flow, right? To move in ease. And let me be clear, what I've learned since then is that life is not designed to be easy, right? You're going to have things that require you know, you're going to encounter resistance, right? Resistance is a part of growth as much as we don't want to admit that these days. And I can admit I did not know this as 20-year-old Marthea. I thought that I was being punished by God when I was facing resistance. However, that same resistance that I was experiencing in my 20s, in my early 30s, now allows me to be in my business full time. It now allows me to teach you all how to get a job, right? All of that resistance became the thing that affords me the freedom to really have deeper desires to bat for balance, right? Where I'm no longer running from my first job to my second job to my third job. So I do want to say that like I'm not naive to the fact that my relationship is strong enough with God to understand that you're gonna have to go through something to get to the other thing, okay? But I would always say a few years ago, like even up until recently, that I want to move with flow and ease in my life. And so when I wrote in my journal, and I pulled it out to have this conversation with you all. It's now hours later. I had to lay across my bed after that conversation with God. It's like balance isn't about doing everything every day. It's about doing the right things with peace in the right season. Because like even days, even like me laying across my bed when I know I need to be doing something else, guilt is like underlying in that. And so what my primary focus this morning was to release the guilt, release the feeling of I should always be doing something because believe it or not, we've all been programmed. I don't care how woke you think you are, how much of a super saver social worker you are, how much you like counsel other people through their stuff. We've all been programmed by society. And one of the things that we've been programmed by society around is productivity, always having to do something, always having to be moving, especially like depending on just, the circles that you run in. So, So when I tell you like I needed to hear that balance isn't about doing everything every day. It's about doing the right things with peace in the right season. I needed that reminder because I have been caught up in this cycle of trying to manage every single area of my life every single day. Again, spiritually, emotionally, physically, financially, professionally. And I kept falling short and then I would feel bad about not being able to get it all done and then it's like this never ending cycle of dread and then I wake up in the morning optimistic. I even started waking up at 3:30 a.m to like so I can allocate and have and I did that for 30 days straight so I can have enough time to allocate to every area of my life. And what would happen was I did that last month and it started off great like in the beginning, but then towards the end of the month like I was running on fumes. I would be in the bed by 7. I would wake up at 3:30 and it's just like yeah, I got a lot done, but I was like half of myself because I was running on fumes. And honestly, what I took away from that is that I've done all of that. I put my time in doing it. I've done that in my 20s and my 30s where I stay up working on schoolwork and or working multiple jobs, overnight shift, 2, 3, 4 in the morning. Like when other people were going to the clubs, I was working. I was working. I was doing things to invest in my future to come to make a better life of myself. And it's just like God has brought me too far for me to still be operating in that way. Because ultimately, what that was rooted in was that I had not fully surrendered to Him. I was still trying to control my outcomes. Right. And so what I had to like, I had to stop that. I did it for 30 days and I was like, Marthea, you ain't somebody that's new to this who is just realizing like your life is a sum of the choices that you make. You've done that before. I'm moving into the season of rest, right? Um, rest, rest and flow. And so um I just was feeling guilty about falling short, but I still, again, had this desire of just having balance of everything. And so, um, yeah, and it's just like always carrying the guilt, the shame of the feeling of you're not doing enough. But what God is showing me is He never asked me to do all that in the first place. He never asked me to do all of that in the first place. He just asked me to do what matters right now, right? Right now. So For example, like when was it? Monday and Tuesday, I had a major deadline due. Had something that I had to submit. My plan all last week was Monday and Tuesday, I'm going to completely unplug from the outside world. I'm going to get this thing done. The bulk of it will be done on Monday because it was due by Tuesday at 6:30 p.m., right? Monday came, I sat down to get the thing done and didn't do anything because I was tired from the weekend of coaching. If you don't know, I primarily would meet with my coaching clients on the weekend because I like to meet with people when they're off from work and they're rested. So on Mondays and Tuesdays, those are my days off. But however, now that I'm working on something behind the scenes, it requires me to dedicate these Mondays and Tuesdays to invest in this thing. Right. And so when Monday came, it was just like I needed a brain break. I and I knew I had this thing done. And so I rested. However, there's still like this pressure, this invisible pressure over my head. It's like even though I'm resting, the tabs are still open in the back of my mind. Are like, okay, so that means tomorrow you're gonna have to really double down. You're gonna have to wake up early. You're gonna have to like you still gotta get this thing done. So even though I was resting, I couldn't rest and I could have just should have just really been working. And so it's just like the never ending cycle. Okay. And so, in that moment, I felt like, Marthea, you are not surrendering. You told God last year you was gonna surrender, you was gonna stop controlling everything in your own way, and you ain't, you done that sometimes, and it's that balance thing, right? And so really balance probably is more like consistency, put them words together. That's what my deeper desire is. And it's like if I say I surrender, I gotta surrender, but also I got to like find a way as one person, as one single person in this world who doesn't have a backup system, right? And this is just like another added layer of, I'm gonna just say like, it's different when you are one solo person as opposed to like when you have a partner, a husband, a wife, you have a team. Even if your person don't pick up all of the slack, you still have someone that can do something to support you. For me, it's been me nonstop, 100 miles an hour for 25 plus years, right? And so that's just like another added layer to it. Like if I don't make it happen, it doesn't happen. And I cannot go through life without things happening. Does that make sense? Right. So what I wanted to introduce to you all is something that I learned about today in my devotion time. And it's about divine prioritization. Right. And what that means is that before I check my calendar on my phone, I need to intentionally not just pray, because I pray every morning, I pray throughout the day. But divine prioritization means that I need to check in with God every morning before I get my day started and ask, Lord, what is the most important thing today? Right? And for me, what that looks like is maybe it's something that I need to do for my list, or maybe it's a word that I need to bring forth to you all. Maybe it's a friend that I need to call and check on, right? But Lord, what is the most important thing today? Right? And being okay with sometimes the answer is rest, Marthea. I'll never forget, it probably was a few weeks ago. I clearly heard God say, rest. This is your season of rest. Rest. Because I was trying to make things move and shake as I always do. I'm always working on a goal. I'm always doing something. And I heard God just as clear as day say, rest. This is your season of rest, right? Because I've never really rested. And so maybe what that looks like is resting. Sometimes it's writing. Like I had the urge a few days ago and today to pull out my journal and write. Like I said, sometimes it may be checking in with a friend, but every day it won't be everything, but it will be the right thing because God told me to do it. So if you've been feeling like you're failing at balance, like maybe you're not failing at all, maybe you're just trying to carry what was never yours, the whole all at once. I wanted to share that with you. And in the words of my business coach, Dr. Dubose, she talked about one time around the fact that when you are a high achiever, you don't hit rock bottom. Like, you ever heard people say like they had their rock bottom moment and that's when life changed for them and that's when they stepped like experienced self-actualization and stepped in the full version of this. She's like when you're a high achiever, you don't hit a rock bottom moment. You have a mountaintop moment where it's like you are doing this is my words based on what I remember, where it's like you're doing and then there's nowhere else for you to go but like but you're constantly trying to go. Let me look this up. I think I looked it up one time before. Maybe she said, yeah, a mountaintop. What does it mean to have a mountaintop moment as a high achiever? Like right now, I need to log on in 2 minutes for a resume editing session for a client. Instead of a rock bottom moment. It was the first time I ever heard her explaining. Top moment. Hmm. I might have to ask her to re-explain it to me. But what I took it as is like you reach your capacity, right? Like you reach your capacity. It's just never ending. The strive just never stops. And what happens to you as a person? Um, It says having a mountaintop moment as a high achiever instead of a rock bottom moment means experiencing a pivotal realization, a turning point in life during a peak of success, clarity, or achievement rather than crisis, failure, or despair. For high achievers, these mountaintop moments often involve awakening to new possibilities, purposeful reflection, positive transformation, mindset shift. Essentially, the mountaintop moment is about proactively harnessing success as a catalyst for intentional change, deeper self awareness, and greater impact rather than waiting until circumstances force you into action. And that's where I am. And I'm going to have to log off. That's where I am. It's just like my mindset shift is I want balance, I want divine prioritization, and that my high achieving self feels as though I should be able to do something in every category of my life. And so my mountaintop realization moment is no, it's about prioritization, right? Because at the end of the day, I only got me. And one of the scriptures that I read this morning was Matthew chapter 11, verse 28, the NIV version. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. That's not a suggestion. That's God's promise. So if you're feeling like me right now, take a deep breath and say, God, what do you want me to do today? Right? We have our own to-do lists, but those may not be God's plans for you today. You don't have to do it all. You just have to do what God is asking of you today, because that's also my goal is to be obedient. And sometimes I'm not obedient, chasing after my own to-do list. All right, I'm gonna go. I'll talk to you later. Bye.